Hi guys, welcome to Hidden Gems with Natasha Parker, me, your host. I am very excited because our guest today, she is a lovely little lady, and she had a lovely show called My Unorthodox Life. She was on a reality show on Netflix. If you guys haven't watched it, you should watch it because there's a lot about being Orthodox that I had no idea about. So I want to welcome Batsheva Haart onto the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun for us. I feel like we just reconnected again.
Yes, I know. I'm so glad to have you on. And this is actually great too, because there's so many questions that I have that obviously I could have asked you like off the interweb, but I feel like a lot of people are interested in your life because you do have such an interesting life and so many things happen to you. But before we go, I like for my guests, this is your camera, I like for my guests to introduce themselves to the Hidden Gems community. I want to hear how you talk about you. So tell everyone about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Batsheva. I'm 31. I live between New York and Miami, heading back to Miami to be a snowbird next week. Living that life. And people are like, you're a snowbird, you're too young. But you know what? Technology, we can work from anywhere. I do content full-time, Instagram, TikTok, at Batsheva Haart. I also have a podcast, Heart to Heart, and I do a lot of lifestyle. I am a single girly, so lots of single content, dating and out there, having fun, finding myself, and I love what I do.
Yes. That's so great. And Heart to Heart, such a great name for your pod.
Thank you.
It really is. And her last name is 2 A's.
Yes.
You guys have 2 A's in your last name, which is so great. And it really like makes you, unique than just like the HART.
Yeah.
So, okay, where do we start? All right. So we are single girlies in New York City.
Yes, we are.
Now, I know that you did a podcast about dating in LA versus Miami. But in case people did not hear that podcast, what would you say is the biggest difference between the
two spots?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say it was funny. I was telling a friend this morning because I'm going back to Miami. Like, what's the dating scene going to be like? Mm-hmm. And there definitely are less men. Like in New York, there are going to be more men. You're going to have just more people. Yeah. There's a larger hinge pool. There's more men. But I will say what I like about dating in Miami is it feels more intentional. Like, guys pick you up for dinner. They take you to dinner. It's not like a man who is like, let's grab a drink quickly. I have 5 other dates this week. It's super fast. It's not really intentional. I don't feel like, at least, I don't know. You have a different experience. It feels way more casual, which can be nice as well. Love that too.
Right.
But I think where I am at life, I like being wined and dined. I want someone to take me out. I feel like if you want to do, people are like, it's too long to do a dinner, just do drinks. Mm-hmm. But you can make a dinner just as fast. Like you can have dinner in an hour and a half, and most likely you're having drinks for an hour and a half. Right. So, on the short end. So I feel like I might as well get a meal out of it.
Of course. And it's just nice to, I think that the pacing of drinking too, because it's like, okay, now I want to stay and talk to this person, but so now I have to order another drink.
Exactly.
Or the bartender's going to look at me crazy. Or, you're like just taking up a table, just talking. Whereas with a meal, it's like, okay, you can have an appetizer. Okay, you can have
and if you want to end it, don't get dessert. I'm not hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So there's a way to almost like naturally prolong the conversation if it's going well. So you maybe go on less dates?
I do go on less dates
but
in
they're
Miami.
More intentional.
They're more intentional. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot more entrepreneurs, which I love personally for myself because I live a very flexible work life. Mm-hmm. So I like when someone has a little bit more like autonomy. Mm-hmm. Autonomy. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I said that wrong. In their work life. Mm-hmm. So I think you have that. There are like a lot of people that move for taxes.
And they have their own company.
Like I like that. Obviously, in some men. There's a lot less finance bros, which I don't have anything against finance bros. I've dated them. They're great. Mm-hmm. But there's just like people are doing different things.
Right.
That I find to be a little bit more interesting. And it's nice to mix it up. Mm-hmm. And for, I would say, November until March, half of New York is coming to Miami.
Yes.
So you can meet someone from anywhere while you're still there. So you're getting also like a nice mix of people who are coming in who maybe spend a lot of time there as well. So it's nice.
Do you find yourself though dating New York men who are snowbirds like you?
Yeah.
Or is it like people from other places mainly?
Mostly other places who are living in Miami full time, but a lot of them will spend summers away.
Yes. Because it's hot.
It's very hot.
Yeah, it's hot there.
I get it.
It's hot. Oh my gosh. Okay. So now that we are here, I want to go back because you've now lived in Miami for
a year.
For a year. So this will be your second like winter.
Yes.
There? Okay, cool. Okay, great. So we're still sussing it out.
Very sussing it out.
Yeah.
I haven't been back in I barely lived there the past 6 months. So I'm getting back into it.
Do we have Miami girlies yet? Do we have our friends? Do we have our crew?
I felt like I was dating girlfriends when I moved there. For real. I focus on my friendships way more than men. And I was going on girl dates all the time because I was I need friends. I think that's a really big thing in your adult female life, finding good friends.
Oh, yeah.
And I think having the opportunity to do it as a 30-year-old when I moved there, I really was, I looked at who I was talking to, who I wanted to spend my time with, because I was, again, super intentional about it, as opposed to when you're younger, it's your college friends, your work friends. These were the people I was choosing to spend my free time with. So I'm way more picky and do I want to be friends with? I don't have to be friends with anyone right now, which is, as an adult, so liberating.
Yeah, exactly. And do you find it hard to maintain friends?
I think
I'm in your late 20s, 30s type of thing.
I think it's a quality over quantity point. It's who do you really enjoy hanging out with? Who makes you feel good about yourself? Who's inspiring you? And it's so important to surround yourself with friends like that and females who are uplifting you instead of especially being single. I do not want to have single friends who are negative.
Right.
If you're
man suck.
Man suck. I hate my life. I feel so unfulfilled. I'm I don't want to be your friend. I want to be friends with women who are doing shit with their life because they have the free time to, and who love what they're doing and take men as something in addition that they want in their life, not that they need.
Right. And I think it's important to say, it's that this whole podcast is about having the courage to do what is going to make you happy and what fulfills you. And sometimes we don't know what that is. And sometimes we're blessed to just have that mapped out for us or have an upbringing that makes us feel like we have to be ambitious. You know what I mean? I feel like that's your life for sure, with the way that you were brought up with your mom. But it's something that, I feel blessed to know that, okay, yeah, bitch, you got to work. You got to go do this. You got to go do that. You got to go figure it out. But some people that I feel like sometimes when I meet people who are in this, they're, I don't know, in this space of negativity, maybe around either dating or just life or whatever it is. I feel like sometimes it comes from a lack of either a lack of responsibility or a lack of will to want to be successful or be happy even. I'm people kind of want to be miserable.
Oh, for sure, because it's it's easier.
Yeah.
It's also easier to not change what's making you unhappy. They're well, at least I know what's making me unhappy. So I'd rather sit in that space than the unknown of what could be.
Yes.
And that to me is sad.
Yeah. Well, it's also easier to complain than to be
for sure, to make a change.
It's my fault. Let me figure this shit out. Yeah. No, you're so right. So now so you've been there for a year. What made you want to go there?
I felt I was a snowbird the year before. I met my ex-boyfriend right before I moved.
Literally. And he lived here?
He lived in New York.
Okay.
I met him 2 weeks before I moved to Miami for 2 months. I was just going to go test it out. I was super single. I'm I've always loved Miami. Let me try it out. My lease was up. And I ended up meeting him. We hit it off right away. And he essentially kind of moved in with me for the first 2 months that we were dating in Miami.
Oh, boy.
Because he worked remotely.
So it was insane.
It worked out really well. While we were there, I loved it so much that we were both his apartment was gonna be up in the summer. We were gonna move to Miami together.
Wow.
It was kind of it felt like everything was finally mapped out for me, like you were saying a little bit. And I was so excited about that. Fast forward a little bit, we ended up breaking up in June.
Okay.
And I was already back. I was back in New York, but like we were going to move together at the end of the summer to Miami.
Right.
And I loved living there. So I was like so excited about it. And then I was faced with this challenge, like, do I move to Miami by myself or do I stay in New York where I have my friends, my family, my life that I know? And I decided to stay in New York, signed a lease in September, and I was just so unhappy. And I couldn't I'm like, I just don't feel good in my apartment. And I got so lucky with the location and the place. And I was like, I should feel good, but I don't. And I decided like, I'm going to just fucking do it. I'm going to move by myself, even though it's really scary. And I didn't have any good friends because when I moved the first time, I was in a new relationship. So I was like, he was my everything in that little moment. I didn't need to make good friends because I had him.
Exactly.
And so I was like, am I going to do this? Will I be okay? But I'm like, strong, independent woman. I'm going to try this out. If I don't like it, I come back. Like, not a big deal. Take chances on yourself, ladies.
Yes.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
And I just decided to do it. And it was the best thing for me. I think I really needed space from like everything that I knew. And like, I went through a divorce in New York and I went through so many changes and I felt like having a fresh start in a new city was really empowering. And also I had never learned to really be alone because I always had a partner.
Yes.
And then I was going to this new city where I'm like, I have to rely on me. I have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, with having some lonely nights and being like, not a big deal. Everyone feels this way sometimes.
Yep.
It's okay. And I just feel like I grew so much as a person and it was the best decision.
Being by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, let's give them some math here. It's a little, not necessarily girl math, but just math here. So you got married at 19.
Yeah.
You were married until you were 28. And then you moved to Miami
at 30.
Okay. Yeah. So having a partner for that amount of time, do you feel pressure first of all, do you feel codependent? Like, obviously it's nice having a man around to do things that we don't want to do. Like, take out the trash or something. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like, do you feel codependent in that way?
I don't feel that way anymore at all. But when I got out of my marriage, I had no individual identity at all. Because I met him when I was 17, 18 years old. I was with him until 28. So all of my like formative adult years was attached to another human.
Yes.
And I didn't taking out the trash, getting the mail, stupid things like that. I never booking flights. Like we both had our own little things, but I didn't do the paperwork stuff.
Right.
And so I had to figure out how to do all of that on my own and also living on my own. But I took that like to the extreme that when I entered into the new relationship with my ex-boyfriend, I didn't want him to do anything because I felt like I'm going to start relying on you. And then what if this ends and then I'm going to have to start over and I don't want to do that. But I realized that like that's part of getting into a relationship and you only know until you know and like and you'll be okay.
Right.
I think first heartbreak is brutal and I experienced it at 28 and it was just like so heart-wrenching. The second time around, it's not as bad.
Right. Well, also
at least you're going to be okay.
You're going to be okay, but also if you can get through that where it's like you have your young emotions, which I mean, girls' young emotions are just wild. You know what I mean? It's wild. So it's like, if I can get through all of that. And also, just for our listeners, you see a lot of your relationship on the first season of your Netflix show. And for the most part, it seemed like you guys were very compatible. Yeah. You guys had a great marriage in the sense of person to person,
Absolutely.
Right? He seems like a great person. He loved your family. It was like he was one of the family, which I think people only hope that can happen.
Absolutely.
When you have a family as close as yours, right? But fundamentally, that is like the how he wanted to continue to grow his life and his family, and how you wanted to continue to grow your life and your family was different, and that's why you guys decided. Is that correct?
I think like if we could be friends today, totally would. He was my best friend. Like I think what was hard for me, I struggled was feeling that I had failed in a marriage and in a relationship, but I realized I didn't. Like, I had a beautiful relationship, but sometimes you don't want the same things. And I think we are great when our core values aligned, but when those shifted to like wanting to raise a family differently, that's when we were like rather ended on a positive, happy note when we don't have kids, when we don't have any like real like assets together.
Yes.
And I kind of more when I like go out on dates and tell people I'm divorced, I'm more like, I had a long-term live-in boyfriend with more paperwork when we broke up. Because in most instances, no one gets married at 19.
Right.
So it was kind of like a different headspace mindset to be in.
Right. Exactly. And so what's so deep though, which I just thought about when you were just talking about that, it's like you're thinking about failing in this marriage and or, you know, relationship. But you also, if you would have stayed in it, you would have been failing yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think that we don't have to pick. We should, when you have a successful marriage, you should also be feeling successful in yourself, you know, and what that success looks like obviously is different for everyone else. But it's like you should be in alignment and you should feel your alignment. But I also think because you were so young, you know, the person I dated at 19 is completely different than the type of guys that I go for now. And that happens sometimes. The hope is that you keep growing together and things continue to grow together, but it didn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to like understand that, at least for myself, it's like I know going into my next relationship, like I am capable of a happy, healthy relationship. And I more focus on that than being like, my marriage didn't work out with him.
Exactly.
And that's so important to identify.
Right. Because from a relationship standpoint, at least from a viewer, it's like, you know, I have to give you your props, girl, because in so many ways, as a big sister, you seem like the best big sister. You really do. Also, as a daughter, and, you know, the way that you have learned, and I don't know where this comes from, and I want to ask you, but learn to establish boundaries, even in your marriage, even in your relationship with your sister and your brothers. You know what I mean? Like you see it, and it's like, I'm like, Batsheva is the most level-headed person on this show. Like, wait a minute, what is happening here? You know, like, do you feel like that? And I know a lot of times there's a lot of pressure on the oldest, especially when you have a wonderful eccentric mom like that, who's like, you know, she includes everyone in everything. So a lot of pressure. Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you as the oldest to kind of keep the level-headedness in the house?
I don't know. I think because I got married and moved out of my house so young and like really had a very big sense of independence as a couple.
Yes.
It caused me to make boundaries earlier on with my family because I think when you're in a relationship, your partner comes above your family in certain instances and you have to take your partner's side when sometimes, you know, your parents can be like, well, we want you to do this. And they're like, well, my partner wants to do that.
Yes.
And I think I learned to value my relationship. Obviously, I love my family and they matter so much to me.
100%.
But I think being in a relationship really young caused me to have those boundaries and be like, yes, I understand what you need from me, but I also need this.
Yes.
And like knowing if you need something, as long as you're treating yourself with respect and space, you can then be a better person to the rest of your family or your friends or whatever it is, because you knowing your capacity helps you be a better person to them.
Yes. And I think that's like, you know, at such a young age, you went through so much and having to transition. So for our listeners as well, you were raised until you were 20?
I guess until I was like 19, I was fully Orthodox.
And like born that way.
Born that way, didn't know anything else. Got married. My mom decided to like leave the community. And then I was just subjected to other things, but it was more of a gradual leaving on my part because I was already married, out of the house, living my own life when my mom decided to live a different life.
Yes.
So I had a different experience than my siblings who were living at home at the time.
Right. And how did the decision come? So did her and your dad divorce, or they got a get? It's called a get, right?
Yeah.
Did they do that first and then she left, or did she leave and then they got.
She left and then they got divorced.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision for your sister and your brother, for Miriam and your older brother to go with her, and then the younger brother to stay with your dad. How did that come about?
My mom always says my sister was the one who influenced her to leave. So I think when my mom left, my sister went with her. And my brother was also a little bit older. He was like almost in high school at the time. So he just had he was able to make more decisions on his own and what he identified with. I think religion is so personal. And I think there are so many people who find comfort in it and appreciate it. And there are some people who want a little more flexibility and they don't want all the rules and regulations. And I think you should be able to decide that for yourself as an adult.
As an adult.
Yeah, as an adult. As a kid, I think it's great to have a higher power, to know like someone's watching you, to have morals and traditions. But I think as an adult, you should be able to decide, what do you identify with? What's important to you? How do you want to live your life? And like actually make that a conscious decision instead of just like, I was raised this way. I just do it because I do it.
Right. And so right now, your youngest brother and your dad, they are still in the community.
Yeah.
Okay. And your older brother, your younger sister, and
my mom.
And your mom and yourself are here in New York and out of the community still. Yes. Okay. And how is your relationship with your brother and your dad?
Great.
So
my dad, I would say is like such an amazing
seems like the
parent.
sweetest
He's
person
the best
ever.
And he just wants a relationship with his kids. He doesn't care what we keep, what we don't keep, what we observe and don't observe. He just loves us. And same thing with my brother. Obviously, like he lives his life his way. We live our life our way. And then we respect each other and our own personal choices. Because everyone now is like, my brother's 18. Wow. We saw him on the show and he was probably like 14.
And he's so cute.
He was so cute, but he was like a little like little teenager. Now he is like out of high school and he's able to make his own decisions. And I think the most beautiful thing I learned is that just to have like a judgment-free home where everyone can like, as adults, we all want different things. We all like navigate differently, like whatever you feel tied to and special, like respect your family's choices to be different. Yes.
And so, and I want to go into that too, because there's watching the show, there's always themes that come up. And the theme that I really noticed from just like a human level, you know, your sister Miriam and your mom talked to your brother about freedom and being free and being free. And what came to me was like, he probably finds freedom in his world. Yeah. He finds this to be freeing for him, right? Like I have a brother who, we're from Chicago originally. My dad and mom moved to Michigan and we all moved there and then everybody else left and I have a brother that stayed there. And he like, goes to the similar bar every weekend. He has like similar friends. He kind of like, he works and he comes home and he does the same thing, right? And I've lived in New York for 10 years now. He's come to visit me once. I lived in LA for 4 years before this. He came to visit me once. I'm like, I would think to myself, if I had a sibling that lived in Paris or London or, somewhere that I didn't, I'd be trying to go there all the time and see that. Of course. But he's so happy and content with his life and the way that it is. Who am I to be like, you should be traveling more and doing this and doing that and going here and going there? That's so effed up of me to say, and who of him to say, well, you don't come home enough and you should stay here and you should, So there was something so beautiful about seeing the difference and that it's okay that you wanted to live your life the way that you did and your brother wanted to live his life the way that he did. And the level of acceptance, and every time your mom and dad had a conversation, it was like, you guys really are
the priority.
You guys really are first. And to both of them. And it wasn't like, well, they need to do what I say. And no, they need to do what I say, type of thing, which is very beautiful to see.
Yeah, I'm so thankful because my parents never like got us involved in their differences. And I think that's why they have such a great relationship now. And we're able to have a great relationship with both of them because I know in some instances when parents get divorced, like they kids feel the need to pick a side.
Yes.
And that's so sad because like your parents are your parents.
Yeah.
You can be closer to one than the other. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's nice to be able, if you have a family, like, you know, if you were to get married, that they can all be there and be happy for you and get along. And you shouldn't be worried like, oh my God, you know, this person's going to say that and my mom's not going to, you know, I don't have any of that and I'm really blessed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really great. It seems like you guys had a lot of freedom to make choices and decisions at a young age. Do you think that was more helpful or not for you guys?
I think that it raised me to be really independent. And I was actually recently on a date and I was telling the guy, like, asked me something about how I was raised. And I was like, my mom raised me. And I would say more my mom. My dad worked a lot. My mom was definitely more present in my upbringing.
Right.
And it was very much like I didn't grow up with a lot. Like I grew up comfortably, but not the lifestyle my mom provided as an adult. And it was like in the more Jewish religious world, a lot of people do like sleepaway camp in the summer. And that's like, you know, it's a privilege to be able to afford to go. And my mom would be like, if you want to go, like you do the application, you get everything ready, do the submissions, like get your packing list together. Like she would pay for it, but it was on me, even when I was, I don't know, 11 years old to like figure it out.
Yes.
So I think she raised me with a lot of responsibility, but also rewarded all of that.
Right.
And it just made me understand that if I want something in life, it doesn't just get handed to me. I have to work for it and I will get rewarded for that. And again, I'm so thankful that she was able to provide for me in that way.
Yes.
But I was raised very much with a sense of like independence and you can take care of it and you are capable instead of being like very much babied as a child. And maybe in the moment I didn't always love it. But as an adult now, I will be raising my kids that way.
Okay. See, that's what I wanted to know too, because it's like sometimes something happens and it goes the opposite way, right? And every kid is different too, depending on how you're raised and how you receive something. So yeah, having responsibility, real responsibility. Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to do this for you. And yeah, I think that's what's so interesting about the younger generation, because I think when, you know, people had kids that are, you know, millennials and like the generation before millennials, they wanted to do everything for their kids because they felt like they didn't have enough. And I'm like, yeah, no, like telling your kid that they did something and they didn't do it right. And you're like, oh, you did great. No, try again.
Exactly.
Try again, baby. Like, no, like you tried, but let's try again, you know?
It doesn't help you in your adult life. Like I've dated guys who I could tell their mom did everything for them and they're incapable. And they're not good in relationships because they don't know how to do anything and they don't know how to care about someone because someone always took care of them. Yes. And like that's an important life skill to develop as a child to understand. Like you are a capable human. You can take care of shit and that will help you later in life.
Yes. Okay. So dating. So wait, let's go to dating for 1 second. So now that you are unorthodox, but do you still feel a need to marry and or date only Jewish men?
I'm open-minded. I want to raise my family identifying as Jewish. So I want to do like Jewish customs. I don't really care about a Christmas tree because that like feels cultural, less religious to me. Right. But I don't want to do a different religion. So like I would be open to someone who wasn't Jewish, but I want to raise my family Jewish. So if they were like super Christian or Catholic, that wouldn't work for me. But I know so many guys who are not religious at all. Right. And I wouldn't like date an atheist. Like I'm more like agnostic. I believe in like a higher power. Yes. I don't care what you call it. God, the universe, whatever that is. Right.
But we have to be in alignment that we are going to raise our children Jewish. Yeah. Yes.
So open-minded.
Okay, good. But do you find yourself gravitating dating more Jewish guys?
Mostly date Jewish guys. Yeah. For the most, especially in New York. It's like they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. So, okay, I don't want to get controversial here. Now, let's talk about these Jewish mamas and their boys.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes, to your point.
That's what I was more saying on Yeah, choosing your family. Like, you got to choose your wife.
Yeah.
Your girlfriend over your mom, guys.
Come on. And it's tough because you have this situation where sometimes the Jewish moms obviously did everything for the boys and everything. They
so you
babied
gotta
them.
stay away from those guys.
Well, but even there was, a scene in your episode when your mom was like reading all of your rights when you guys were trying to like tell her things that they wanted to do for the company, right? And she tells your brother, go be a lawyer. Stop. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you're talking about, like, I don't want to hear that. In business school, what is that? No, go be a lawyer. Like those types of things are, it's not the sentiment, not saying that everyone's doing this, but it's just like, oh, you don't have to worry about that. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
That's not the sentiment. And I think that a lot of times, at least from my Jewish guy friends, it's like their mom is going to take care of it.
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like when, especially in relationships, like your spouse or your partner, your girlfriend, whatever, their feelings should come first over your mom's, even if that gets you in trouble. I rarely go on second dates because I can immediately suss out if someone has like qualities that would be good for me. So I think it go like, but on one hand, like I get rid of people really quickly, which I don't know is necessary. Sometimes it's nice, like maybe like get a little more excited about someone. But I also know like deep down inside, like I'll know when I meet someone, even on a first date, if I want to see them again.
Right.
And if I'm not sure, sometimes I'll go on it. For the most part, I won't. Yeah. I'm like, I'll just if I'm excited. Like, I think you should always be excited about a second date.
Oh, girl.
I know a lot of people aren't. Girl. But I think for myself, because I feel like I know what I need that I can be, as opposed to maybe some of my friends who have never had like longer term relationships where I'm like, go out again. Maybe as long as you're okay with going, do it. But for myself, I think I know a little bit more about like what it feels like to vibe with someone. Yeah.
Yeah,
it goes both ways.
It's hard to be excited sometimes. I will say that. And even because, you get excited and then you get disappointed sometimes, right? Like you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's great. Blah, blah, blah. But then you don't hear from them. They don't call you. They don't, whatever the case is. And when you live in a city like this, like you said, there's so many men. You could go on a date. Didn't you say you had like a rule about going on a date a week or something like that?
Yeah.
So how did that go?
I mean, I actually had to like stop myself. Like when I first became single, I would go on like 5 to 7 dates a week. I was insane.
They say it's a numbers game.
It was a numbers game. I would go on back to back. Like I don't have the energy to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So then I changed it to like, I think if you are interested in going on dates and you want to find someone, I listened to this on a podcast and he was just like, go on 1 date a week, get yourself out there. Just so like you're giving yourself the opportunity to meet someone. So get busy on those apps. I don't stick to that rule anymore all the time.
Right.
Just because I feel like I don't need to or I don't want to. And you should like listen to yourself. If you don't want to do it, don't take your breaks. But I think if you are really taking it seriously, it's nice to do one or even like 1 date every other week. Just like make sure you're actually putting in effort. Yeah. Because like sitting at home and like only hanging out with your girlfriends, you're not really, your energy is closed off when you do that. So I think just getting yourself out there a few times a month to like feel a little sexy and get excited about something, it's better.
I agree with you. You do have to put yourself out there. The Postmates man is not going to do it.
Yeah. And like just, you have to put some effort into it. And even if that means downloading multiple different dating apps and like being a little bit more active and sending a message first and just like engaging. I think so many people don't engage and they're like, I'm not getting any dates. I'm like, well, what does your profile look like? Are you sending guys messages? Are you interacting? Are you trying to keep the conversation going? There are different ways to get more dates.
Yeah, I agree. And is Hinge your preferred?
I think Hinge is great for getting, if you want like quantity. I mean, if you want to be finding dates, I think Hinge is the most proactive.
Have you tried any others?
Yes, I've tried Raya. Raya I think is great for travel. I have met like 2 guys I dated for a longer amount of time were from Raya. So I think that's great. I never actually had any real success from Hinge personally, but I've gone on lots of dates.
Yes, and lots of practice.
Lots of practice.
What do we say at Hidden Gems?
Yeah.
It's all practice, baby.
Yeah, I mean, I've done Bumble.
Yeah.
I'm on Match right now. They just partnered with Jay Shetty.
Oh.
And they're doing like a whole new, like they revamped their app to connect people on core values over.
Wow.
It's very interesting. It's like because I think they're trying to get away from like the swiping game.
Yeah, which is great.
Which is so true.
Because it's so easy.
So easy. And it's like, what do you like? Do your core values match with this person? And if you are, then you're more likely to actually hit it off with them than just their random prompts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's interesting, so have you ever done BetterHelp?
Yes.
Okay. So you know how in BetterHelp you can literally, so BetterHelp is a platform, it's an online therapy platform.
Mm-hmm.
And you can literally put like, I want to see a Jewish person who is a woman who is this or that, who, you know, like you can kind of put these things, these parameters in like what you want to see. And I feel like, I don't know, is Match like that? Because I'm waiting for the dating app that you can, it's not just preferences. It's like, this is what I want to see. Because you can put your preferences like a male, you know, you can even put, you know, in some of the ones you pay for, and you can put the height thing, whatever.
Right.
But like, no. Like I, you know, then they say, is it a deal breaker? No. I only want to see, you know, for, you know, 6'5", brown eyes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Finance, whatever. Like, let's just say not that, but you know what I mean? You only want to see these types of things. And even if there's only 100 of your match, just show me that 100. Like, why can't we do that?
I feel like it does do that. I've had that. Yeah. It just, you run out and says, widen your preferences. I'm like, no.
Damn, you run out. Fuck. Well, you know, I mean, listen, there's this woman who did this video, and she like it was granola, and she like had a bag of granola, and she was like, oh, men want to ask you why you're single and you're in your 40s, this is why. And then it's like this whole thing, and like she's putting out like the guys who are taken, the guys who are this, the guys who are gay, the guys who are, you know, all these. And then she was like, and then you have to spread it all over the map. And it was like, you know, the crumbs left basically. And yeah, I think that it's obviously hard for a successful woman to be in a relationship and find someone who is matching her freak.
Yeah.
And or more, right? And what I mean is like, we get in a position. I find that when I go on these dates, sometimes you're meeting a great guy, but what they're looking for and what you're looking for isn't always in alignment. And so you said earlier that you don't go on the second date, or you kind of like get over them quick or file through, but like that's healthy.
Yeah. And I think that it's just like that works for me. I think I know myself maybe deeper relationship wise than some people. I went on a date last year with this guy, and I said no to him the second time because he was really short. And I like taller men. But I remember I had a nice time, and he's cool. And I recently passed him in the street, and then like
when?
Like 2 weeks ago. And then he like liked me again on Hinge when we had like gone out on a date. And he asked me out, and I was like, you know what? Like, let me give the short king a chance. Let me see, and just try to be more open-minded, because I don't remember anything bad about it. All I remember is like, he was short. And I was like, I want someone who's tall. So I'm not going to see you again.
Yeah.
And I'm just like trying to be a little more open-minded on certain things that I know don't matter.
Right.
Like, as long as I can be attracted. Obviously, attraction is important. Chemistry is important. I remember we had a good makeout.
How you feel with them.
How I feel with them. There's so many other things.
Yes.
That I'm like, let me give him another shot if he like happened to pop back into my world now. So I think it's also being like aware of why you're saying no to someone, and like trying to be a little bit more open-minded on certain things like height criteria.
What are your thoughts on a timeline? Like, do you feel like, oh, by the time I'm 35, I want,
No.
or do you put that type of pressure on yourself? Do you think it's healthy? Like,
no, never do that.
Yeah.
Also, like, men can feel it.
I think that's true.
And that's icky.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just like you're trying to put someone in this box.
I think it's important to just be like happy where you are. And I think also remind yourself on those lonelier nights, or if you're sad about being single, like, you are never going to have this time in your life to only think about you. Ever. So, like, take advantage of being a little more successful and being more confident at this age and do something. And don't let being single hold you back from planning the trip you want to go on, or like being in a specific place. And that's something I've had to like have mental chats with myself about, because I remember before I was traveling this summer, I was talking to my therapist how I'm like, wait, should I not leave Miami because I really want to date and I want to like find someone? But if I'm never here and I'm traveling for the next 4 months, like in a different country and state, like, how am I going to meet someone? And she was like, your person is going to enter your life. Like, when they're meant to enter your life, wherever that is. And if your energy is you doing you, you are much more likely to attract someone who's also doing them, which is what you want. You don't want to feel like you're being held back and like in this like scarcity mindset that you have to be in one place because you want to date. Like, your person they can enter in the coffee shop, at the airport, at a hotel. It doesn't matter. Like, I believe that, you know, I am kind of like spiritual university. Like, I think your person can come in anywhere you are. As long as you're like, you know, living your truest, happiest self.
Yes. I feel that so hard. Thank you, therapists. Look, thank you, therapists, because that is so true. And I have also fell into that mold of like, and then I think about the things that like, that's a mindset. I think that's also very specific to women, you know, because men, every summer we in Europe, we doing this, we doing that. We're in the house with the friends. We're, you know, one of my guy friends, he's like, I've been talking to this girl, but I'm going to Europe for 3 months. So I mean, I guess it's not going to work out. I'm like, you haven't thought about asking her to come with you?
Yeah.
You haven't. Like,
oh my God. Literally this. I had this with the guy at the beginning of the summer. And he was like, we had seen each other at the beginning of the year and it was nice and like we rekindled. And then he like asked me to like see him more. And I was like, well, you're traveling, I'm traveling. But definitely deep down, I'm like, invite me.
Period.
Invite me on this trip that you're going on.
Right.
You're going to be gone for a month. Why don't you come?
Right.
He did not do that. We never ended up rekindling. But it was
Where
a
did
good...
he go? Where did he go?
It was a nice trip.
But where did he go?
Oh, where is he in the world?
No, where did he go on the trip?
Oh, just literally everywhere. Literally everywhere. And then I was traveling, and I definitely had said, like, I don't want to continue. I don't want to, like, start something when we're both going to be away.
Right.
But I think that
unless you're going to invite me.
Yeah. But I think there's also, like, a sense of I did meet this guy right before I left for a few weeks.
Yes.
But we kept up because we wanted to keep up.
Yes.
And, like, I ended up seeing it through in the summer. It didn't work out. But it was just, like, it was a good reminder to me that, like, if you meet someone, you don't live in the same city or the same place, it doesn't, if you have a connection with someone, you'll figure it out on how to see them again. Yeah. And same thing with, I mean, or the guy will figure it out. And you know, and what's so funny is what I've realized is women feel like, I hear women say this more than I hear men say this, but like, oh, it's just so hard for me to have a connection with someone. It's so hard for me to really connect with this person or that person. So when I do connect with someone, it's so like deep for them, right? There's just facts. That person either felt exactly how you felt or they didn't. And you are gonna know sooner than later. Even if it's a year late, like why something works most of the time is not the person. Most of the time. Even you like being like, you know, this guy was short and I want to be with a taller guy. He can't change his height. That doesn't mean that any of the other stuff about him wasn't great, wasn't amazing, wasn't this. That's a you thing that you have, right? Same thing. So it's like when I go on a date with a guy and I don't get the follow-up or I don't get the this, I don't get the that, whatever it is that he needed that he thought he couldn't see or get or whatever, blah, 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 from me, I am being my truest self. Yeah. I am being the meest me. You know, if you want a girl with a bigger ass, go find one because it ain't me. You know what I mean? Or whatever, right? Like it's
and so to your point, also living in the happiest you and doing where you feel called, that's when you can really say, wow, like opposed to staying in Miami, being there the whole summer, not meeting anyone like you had hoped. And you're like, damn, I could have been in Europe this whole time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
No, and I really do think when you're like doing you and making yourself happy and what like brings you joy, you're going to attract people who are on that same level of also like you want someone who has shit going on and who has their own life and who has friends and plans and things like that. I mean, I'm speaking for myself.
Right.
But I'm saying like I want to attract someone who lives a similar life. So like they're going to be on the go too. Like you don't know.
Yeah.
And if you're holding yourself back because you're scared, that's not a good place to be.
Yes. So there is a guy that we were in the same place.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this. We were in the same place and you were having a chat with a young man.
Yes, I recall who you're speaking about.
And he asked me about you after, like, I don't know, like a few days later or whatever. And we had a nice little chat about that. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on, like, I don't know if he, like, was he flirting with you?
I think so.
You think so, but you didn't know for sure.
It seemed that way. Just what didn't want to engage.
You did okay. You didn't want to because in my head I'm like, obviously I saw you guys talking from afar, didn't know what the context was. Yeah. But after when he asked me about it, I was like, why didn't you ask for her number? Like,
he asked for my Instagram. Icky.
He asked for your Insta.
Icky. That was turn off number 1.
See, this is so interesting because I have these conversations with friends all the time. So some people say if they ask for the phone number, they're hiding something on Instagram sometimes. So that's
interesting.
That's why certain girls are like, oh, when he asked for my phone number versus my Instagram, I'm like, what? He had a girlfriend? You go to his tag pictures and he has a bunch of pictures with a bitch or da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And then I always find it nicer when a guy asks for my number than my Instagram as well, because I'm like, oh, he just wants to see how many followers I have. He just wants to see blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're meeting me in real life. Why do you need my fucking Instagram? Exactly. That's how I feel, right? But then I've heard this other thing, and then also from my guy friends perspective, not him specifically, but other guy friends, they've said like, oh, well, you don't want a girl to like, you know, sometimes you want it to be like, if you're not getting like the she's all in, you'll ask for an Instagram because then it's like she's gonna be like, oh god, this guy's gonna be calling me all the time, this guy's gonna ask me on a date, blah blah blah. So it's like if a girl isn't giving me like the attention, like, oh yeah, like let's go out or let's do this, and they're not excited, then I'll just ask for the Instagram. So then it's like we can be Insta friends, and like, you know, she can like see my life and see that I'm not
him.
So you guys follow each other, then you follow for 5 seconds.
Well, if a man asks for my Instagram, I feel obligated to follow them back.
Yeah. See, I don't. I'd be like, here it is. You can DM me if you want. Like, I don't even follow them back sometimes. But wow, okay. So it was
for me,
just,
I think it wasn't a vibe for you. It wasn't a vibe for me. I think I got turned off by the Instagram. He probably would have done much better if he asked for my number.
Damn.
Because I do think, like, I've like dated guys who, when I saw their Instagram after I knew them in person, I was like, oof, thank God I didn't see your Instagram first, because ick.
Right.
You know, I think that also, I don't think men understand, like, a lot of times male Instagrams are really icky.
Yes.
You know, they have like random ass photos of themselves looking cool, and it's like, no.
Well, that's the thing. So okay, so I'm so glad we're going here, because as an influencer, as a content creator, it's like you want to date someone who is active or not active, or how?
Personally, not active. Supportive. Supportive, but not active.
Okay, so let's say you met a Jewish,
like, that guy was very active.
He was very active. Yes.
Like, he was like influencer-y. I don't want an influencer.
Okay, so what about like an athlete who it's like,
I don't know, don't athletes have terrible reputations?
Well, but just saying, let's say
like a public figure.
Yeah, someone who kind of needs to be active. But
that's fine.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Because it's also a part of your job.
Yeah.
Have you ever dated another content creator?
No.
Mm.
Never dated content, never an actor and an athlete. I like someone who's a little more under wraps.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm trying to be open-minded, so.
But them being under wraps, and I get this because I date a lot of guys who are under wraps, like literally no Instagram, 300 followers, never checks it or whatever the heck. That's been multiple times with guys who I've been like in actual relationships with. But it can also sometimes turn off a person when they see how much you post, when they see how much you're on the interweb and stuff like that. So is that a conversation that you have with people when you go on dates with them? Like,
sometimes,
by the way,
it's annoying because I'm like, I'm not posting about you. I'm talking about a situation that happened 5 months ago. This isn't, so sometimes guys will read into like my single content thinking it's about them. And I'm like, it's just not.
Yeah.
Or like, are you going to talk about this on your podcast? And I'm like, I don't know. Are you going to act like a piece of shit? So maybe.
And if I do talk about it on the podcast,
Thank
hopefully
you for the
it's
content.
good stuff. Hopefully I'm saying some good stuff about you.
Exactly. No, I think I've always, like, if I'm ever sharing something, I never share identifying timelines or people or like anything that can be connected to them in any way. Like, I had a full-blown relationship. Nobody knew about it because I chose to keep it private.
Yes.
Spoke about it after.
Right.
But in a very respectful way.
Right.
So I try to tell guys if I am, like, this is my job. I'm most of the time, like, creating content that has zero to do with you. It can sometimes be inspired by my life, but this is my livelihood. Like, look at it as if I'm an actor, not as me talking about you. And if I ever would talk about someone who like was currently in my life, like I would ask their opinion on like, what they're comfortable with.
Yes. So, it's interesting because, you got the ick from that guy, but I was like, when I was talking to him, I was like, wow, like, I don't know every guy that you've dated. I only know the reference of your ex, your ex-husband. But I'm like, he is a really cool person who comes off a certain way on Instagram, but like actually a good person. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who also, I think, really wants to find like not the traditional Jewish girl, but someone who is also very much Jewish. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Who's like still cool vibes, doing the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you, right? Yeah. And I was like, but
no, I definitely was like intrigued at first, but then I was a little icked out.
Damn. Oh well. All's well that ends. We thought we had a love connection. No more looking. We don't got a date.
I mean, if you know him really well, if you think I should give him a shot, I think I'm open-minded.
I think
after he hears this, he's not gonna probably feel that way.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure he doesn't hear this. No, you go on the date before this.
Okay, and then we edit that out.
Yeah. Well, no, it's funny because it's like, this is what I thought about you before this date. Yeah. I do think that he would be someone that you should go on a date with. Okay. I think you guys would have a lot in common to talk about. And if nothing else, it would be a nice friend to have. And maybe you'll date one of his friends.
Maybe, yeah. There you go. I always say that. You never know who you're going to meet through someone.
Exactly.
I've met amazing girlfriends through guys.
Same.
Like through guys I dated. Like I met them through like a party or something, and like we hit it off, and I never saw them again. And
right.
Bless.
Yeah. It's there's a certain criteria that I would say that makes me want to recommend a guy friend to a girlfriend, and
that's why I'm like, if you're really vetting him, like maybe my like 20-minute conversation with him was like, maybe he was nervous. I don't know.
So this is what I'll say. Where you are right now in your life, how do you feel about your mindset? And I know you said you have a therapist. And do you feel calm? Do you feel in flow? Do you feel like there is something that's holding you back from any other thing that you want to get right now?
Damn, deep. Heavy loaded question.
Yeah.
I think I feel a little in limbo right now because I'm like going to Miami next week.
Okay.
So I'm in this like transit period where like I am still dating in New York.
Yes.
I have a first date tomorrow night. I'm open-minded.
Amazing.
But I think that I am just like not sure what that's going to look like, but I'm also really excited to get back into a new routine.
Yes.
So that feels different, but I would say as a human, in terms of like who I am, I feel like I know myself and I'm in like one of the best headspaces because I had kind of like a negative dating experience in the summer with a guy. And it taught me a lot about myself. And like the two things I would say that I feel like would be really helpful. You want to talk to?
Nyla.
What I would say is two things. One, when you get a crush, get excited and let yourself be excited about it. Because the minute I started liking someone, like you said earlier, you're like, but I never like someone. If I like them, this me, like, oh my God, I can get hurt, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And I went in this like downward like spiral.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell was wrong with me? Like, get excited about meeting someone that you're into.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it doesn't work out.
It
Just
doesn't
like
matter.
enjoy the experience instead of like, where's it going to go? So that was one thing I learned that I never want to do again. Like the minute I have a crush, I'm going to feel so fucking blessed instead of being scared.
Yes.
So like great life lesson.
Yep.
And the other thing would be that the minute someone makes you feel confused, it's not it. It's not about their communication style. It's not about like, do they really like you? Maybe they need more time. It's like the minute I felt him shifting his energy towards me and making me feel confused was the minute I should have been like, this has been nice. Goodbye.
Yes.
And just had the comfort and the self-respect for myself to be okay with that. And I think that was another big lesson for me to just be like, I will know when I'm dating someone if I should continue dating them because they're going to make me know.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, if you want, I don't think it's a matter of if he wanted to, he would. It's like, are they capable of making you feel secure? If you feel insecure, they're not for you. You don't want them. And you cannot try having a conversation, of course, but if you don't come out of that conversation feeling the security you need, it's just not it. And like find peace in that as opposed to trying to grasp for something.
Yes.
So I think those were like two really big things that I needed to learn for myself that now I know like entering the next person I like meet that I have a crush on or get excited, like I'm going to enjoy that. And I'm also going to have the confidence in myself that if something does shift, and maybe it won't, like I'm not going to enter it thinking that it will.
Right.
But if it does, just like be appreciative that you felt it early on and not down the line in 3 months or whatever. Like that you got that clarity.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of my friends who have gotten engaged recently and things like that, the number one thing that they said, there was no confusion.
No confusion. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I had that with my ex-husband, my ex-boyfriend. Like they did not let me question it. Maybe like between the first and the third date, I was like, I don't know. But like once we started talking regularly, there was never a doubt in my mind when I was going to see them get next. They always would leave the date. When am I seeing you? I want to see you. And I just think that when you don't get that energy from someone you're starting to see, not it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Because and you got to make space, you know? And I also think that being present is also so important. So, because when you're present and you say to yourself, okay, guys, I am present. This isn't it now. That doesn't mean that this person can't come back around in 3 months, 6 months, whenever they got they got figured out or whatever. Timing is really important. And I think that I have now taken that timing power to myself because at this time, I don't feel safe. I don't feel secure. So whatever you need to figure out, go ahead, baby. Go fly. Go figure it out.
That is so attractive to men. And they like let them think about that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this isn't okay.
Yeah. No, really. I have, instead of like, I've been, look, I said it. I've been cool girl all through my 20s. I was cool girl. I was the cool girly. Oh, whatever. Like he'll call, he'll whatever. Because I was so busy and focused on my career that like a man was literally and. It was like, I got all my friends, and him. now I'm like, now that I'm looking at the situation, and I do need different things than what I needed in my 20s. So now I'm like, I tell a guy, I'm like, hey, like we went on a first date and I thought it was really great. Did you not? Oh no, it was great. So why haven't I heard from you in 3 days? That does not make me feel good. That does not make me feel like the date was great. That does not make me feel, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't make me feel good.
No.
And you know, my therapist friend, she's like, you cannot feel upset or mad or whatever or needy from wanting a guy who you're interested in to call you, check on you, see how you're doing, whatever. And if they're not, you're not being needy. You're being respectful to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is a huge thing to understand. And that's why it's more like, if you're feeling insecure, it's not because you're an insecure person, and you don't need to put blame on them. It's just they're not giving you what you need. Respect yourself. Respect how you feel.
Yep.
Don't diminish your feelings and be like, oh, I'm asking too much, or he's really busy and blah, 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 making all these excuses. Respect your inner voice and what they're telling you, and be like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm good. And that just means that I now have space for someone who will make me feel good.
Yes.
And confident and enjoy my time and not make me question. You know, that's like, and that's an empowering, like I feel empowered by being able to like identify that negative trait about myself, and also having acceptance and being like, it's okay that you were pining after a man who clearly didn't really want you and you stuck in that mindset for 2 weeks. It's okay. Have grace, be kind. Because like part of me was like, what the hell was wrong with me? Like, that's so embarrassing, blah, blah, blah.
No.
And I'm like, no, like I learned from it.
Yep.
I can look back and be like, I don't want to identify with that version of myself again in any situation with a man. So the minute I start to feel confused, that's an identifying thing to me. And who knows?
Something's off.
Something's off. And like, that doesn't mean it's going to happen again. I can meet my husband tomorrow.
Yep.
You know, and he won't make me feel confused.
Yep.
And that's empowering.
That
and
is
exciting.
It's so exciting. So you have a positive outlook on dating.
Very positive.
Yeah. I do too. And when you have that dating fatigue, I did another podcast and I was talking about dating fatigue. Just stop. You don't have to every time. You don't have to every day. Just stop and get back into it. But I will say, and I have to say for our listeners, you are someone who really knows, who's done a lot of work on yourself. Yeah. Who really knows what she wants. So that's also what gives you that power to say, hey, me feeling like this and being confused and all these things, I don't want that. And I know I'm not crazy and all of these things. And when you really get that power, it's when you really can look in the mirror and really be like, girl, you know what you want and you know what you deserve.
And I think there are instances where you should be able to communicate that and be like, I'm like feeling a little off, or like this makes me uncomfortable. See how they respond. Maybe they don't know. Yes. There are plenty of times where guys are like, wait, I didn't realize that I was making you feel that way. Like, I'll do better.
You have such an amazing outlook. You've been through so much. So much has happened to you. And I think that this whole show is about getting to the point of where you got to. Do you have any advice for yourself, your younger self, for now? Because I don't know when you were 19 if you ever thought you would be in this position, right? So do you have any advice for your younger self or for the people listening who feel like, damn, I'm in a big transition of my life and I don't know what the future holds?
I think I would say definitely get comfortable with the unknown and look at it as something exciting instead of scary. Because I would never dream that I'm living this current existence right now. Yes. Even 3 years ago when I got divorced, like I didn't know what my life would look like. It was so full of the unknown. Yes. But I think embracing that and being like, that means there are endless possibilities for me. And like, how blessed am I to have a new and exciting path?
Wow.
And just like, make that little shift in your perspective is way more empowering. And it's like, whoa, who knows what's going to happen? Like, that's cool.
Wow. Because you can't really think negatively about what am I going to do? What's going to happen? Or you can say, anything can happen.
Anything's
possible. Thank God I can fucking pivot.
Yeah, don't put yourself in that's what I've been like guilty of, is sometimes putting a box on like what can happen for me. And now I'm trying to live in this mindset of like, anything can happen for me. And like, that's really fucking cool and exciting.
That's a bar. Okay. I am going to end it on that. That is a gem. That is a bar. That is so shifting that perspective. There is a beautiful place called the unknown.
So beautiful.
Waiting for us. Yes. Oh my God, I love you. Well, guys, follow Batsheva Haart with 2 A's on social. She's always posting something fun. She has fabulous fits, as her outfit is today.
Matching.
Yes, matching Nyla. And I'm just so glad that you're here. Thank you
for having me on. This was amazing.
I know.
So much fun.
I know. We'll have to actually have dinner before you go to Miami.
Absolutely.
Next week. Well, guys, I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you love this episode. We will, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Hidden Gems with me, your host, Natasha Parker. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really helps grow our budding community. Follow me on IG at Natasha Parker and the show at Gems with Natasha. Hidden Gems with Natasha Parker is produced by Gotham Production Studios.